Not that this person needs much introduction, but I'll do it anyway. The famous Paul Byrd back together again. Absolutely incredible to talk to you again and just get the lowdown on everything that's been going on with you, your career, your broadcasting career, and what you do know about the Braves, even if it may not be as much as typical.
Yes, you covered a lot right there. Yeah, I don't know too much about the Braves just because I don't know if I'm coming back yet. And I love following them. I saw where, you know, Kyle Wright isn't going to be back, Mike Soroka isn't going to be back. And I think that hurt. I trust Alex Anthopoulos explicitly. He's incredible. No reason not to trust him. But I think I was sad because in the locker rooms, you get used to personalities, you get used to people. They ask questions, you talk, vice versa. So that hurt a little bit in the heart, but it's part of the game. And just like fans get set on certain players and get crushed when they go somewhere else, so do broadcasters and people. And yeah, so those kinds of things, when I read about them, they made me a little sad, but I'm excited that Spencer Strider will be taking the hill, throwing 103 miles an hour. That's always electric and fun to watch.
Well, I guess the first most important question of this entire interview is how's your family? How's everything going there?
Thank you so much. So my wife had kidney surgery and she went into septic shock after the surgery. She had 5 surgeries. And after the third one, she went into septic shock, and you only have a 50% chance of surviving. And she made that. And then you have a 30% chance of not making it your first year out from comorbidity or something else because your body's so taxed. So she made that. So now we're just kind of waiting and seeing how she's feeling. And I may stick my toe back in the water. I haven't decided yet. And really excited about the fact that people have said they missed me when I walk around town. I think that's all you want in life is just to matter. And when people say they miss me, I cannot tell you how good that feels. And really, really miss the fans as much as I do talking about a slider or a high fastball or pitching, which has always been my passion.
It's always surprised me getting into broadcasting the way I do it, how
Yeah,
how very much a personable person you were and willing to help me grow my following and things of that nature. Why was is that important to you as a broadcaster, and why was it that you wanted to do it that way instead of somewhat some broadcasters are just do their job and that's it and that's great, but you're the most personable person that I can pretty much think of in this business right now.
I appreciate that. Number one, I love people. Um, you know, I don't know any better way to say that. And I'm not jamming my religion or it's not even a religion, but jamming my feelings down other people's throat. But as a Christian, we love, dogs bark, ducks quack, Christians love. And I feel like I just love people. I care about people. And we're so messed up, including me. Like we just get on Twitter if you don't think that, you know. There's some messed up people out there, but I think everybody's worthy of love, and probably a reason they're messed up or think like that or just whatever. And so I just feel like when I walk into a stadium, I'm like, I enjoy being around people, and some people are, and this is okay. I'm not slamming anybody. Some people are a little more introverted and they recharge being by themselves. That's great. Some people get charged up being around people. And I think regardless of anybody's political belief, anybody's religious belief, or anybody's situation, life, age, season that they're in, when you go to that ballpark and you see a bunch of Braves jerseys, it brings everybody together. And so I think when you get to know somebody and comes up and they share a story of TBS, or, my dad and my mom or my grandfather took me, those kinds of things are very connective for me, apart from did the Braves win, which is great. But the game of baseball, and they start talking about old players, and hey, I came in from Chattanooga, or I drove down from, we'll go to the West Coast, people like I drove down from Alaska because my grandpa sat me in front of the TV and we watched TBS. When you see stuff like that or hear stuff like that, that connects you. And then you start following people and somebody hits you up on Twitter or somebody just comes over and says, love your work. And that for me is the greatest satisfaction. I'm going to give you a long answer. Why did I take a liking in you? I think you're very passionate about what you do. That's contagious. That's very good. Peter Gammons told me, he gave me advice early on. I said, Peter, give me one thing I need to think about when I'm broadcasting. And he said, to communicate your passion about the game. There's no replacement for that. And I think you do that. So, when the Braves lose and you're throwing stuff in your room, which I've seen before, I've seen you lose it. And it's like, that's good. That's attractive. It means you care. The Braves make the playoffs and you're dousing yourself with champagne. I love it. And you can't help everybody, but there's certain people that tug at your heart, you want to help, and you're one of those people.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And
Yeah.
the the one thing that I've always wanted to ask you, why do you go above and beyond? Like, you want to race the freeze, you want to have dogs on
Yeah.
top of your head eating
Right.
snacks and things of that nature. Why do you go 1,000 miles an hour? Kind of like I do. I
um,
mean, I do
yeah.
too, but
Yeah.
why? You don't have to.
Yeah. Life is short. Chip Carey told me this, gave me this advice as a broadcaster. He said, you can be anything but boring. And I was like, kind of like that. I know that I can't be liked by everybody, so I'm just going to be myself. You have to make a decision whether or not you enjoy my broadcasting. Some of it's not good. Some of it's I like. I'm good. I'm real proud of. So, when I raced the freeze, it was a little something different. And it was a lot of fun. Like I'm out here with my horses racing a thoroughbred horse. Who can do that? And it was really it was really kind of nice. It was really fun. It was really neat. And I just decided to be myself. I was like that in the locker room as a team. I like to keep the team loose. It's 162 games. If you're tight for 162 games or you're not having fun for 162 games, you need to do something else. So I've always had fun in this game. And I think that's carried over to my broadcasting too.
It definitely has. You mentioned 162 games, and I don't know if you saw Anthony Randone's comments of the season needs to be shorter. What is your rebuttal to that? If you
So
have.
back when Babe Ruth played and others, the games, the season was shorter. Um, the fact that now, we have more games, I don't want to say it's a money thing, but you do make more money. So I would think it would be hard to give up the gate concessions, give up the games, things like that, because of a few players or half the players or however many. But it is a long season. You know that going in. It never bothered me. Is it long? Yeah, it's long. But you can call up guys in September if it's too long for somebody and, you know, sit it out. But I think baseball's okay the way it is. And I don't know that it warrants a change at this point.
I was obviously doing some research to get ready and a little bit more prepared for this interview, and I found it interesting that you got drafted in the fourth round by the Cleveland Indians, now Guardians, but you
Yeah.
didn't pitch for them right away. What was it like for you to get traded to the Mets? Did that put more pressure on you because you didn't make it with the team that drafted you? What was that process like?
So you remember John Hart, who was the GM of the Braves? He drafted me when I was with the Indians. He was the GM at that time. And I think in that organization, they really valued velocity. They valued a really good, hard fastball, which I didn't have. I was tricky. I cut the ball. I would sink it. I would throw curves, sliders, changeups. So I was more of that feel type pitcher, like facing your uncle in a backyard wiffle ball game. That's what I would tell people, you don't know what they're going to throw next. And that just really wasn't what they wanted. So when I got sent to the Mets, I wasn't upset at all. I didn't feel like I had anybody to prove wrong. I felt like I had somebody to prove right, and that was the Mets. So if the Indians didn't want me, they wouldn't have drafted me. And if the Mets didn't want me, they wouldn't have traded for me. So as I said earlier, you want to feel needed. You want to feel like you matter. You want to feel like somebody cares about you in life. And professionally, I felt like the Mets cared. So I was out to prove some people right and got to the big leagues there. Shook Bobby Bonilla's hand when I walk in the locker room. And Cassidy, if you've never been around Bobby Bonilla, he is huge. So I shook his hand and my hand just disappeared. And he was one of the best players in the game. And he was like 6'6". And then Brett Saberhagen was on the mound pitching that night for the Mets. And he was throwing 98-mile-an-hour pellets on the corner. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can play up here. The stadium was enormous. The crowd was into the game. And that was my introduction into the big leagues. And, once I got a taste of that, I didn't want to be anywhere else. I still didn't have a blazing fastball. I wasn't the best pitcher ever, but I survived and had a nice career that I'm proud of.
109 wins, near no hitter,
Yeah,
an all-star appearance. Although, which I have a bone to pick with that because
yeah,
in 1999 you went 15-11, 4.60 ERA. In that era, okay, that makes sense. But in 02 you went 17-11 with a 3.90 ERA with the Royals and
yeah,
didn't make the All-Star team.
yes.
What's up with that? I
I
don't
know. What is up
remember.
with that? What is up with that? I was supposed to make it, and my manager at the time, Tony Pena, he didn't know what to tell me. He just shook his head. He said, I talked to Joe Torre, who was picking the team. And, well, is this, how big is your podcast? Anyways, he said he didn't feel like I was a big enough name. And that frustrated me. But I was like, yeah. So, I don't know. And Mike Sweeney gave me a big hug, our big Royals. He was the all-star every year on the Royals. He's like, man, you should be there and all this. I'm like, I know. And all this, but it is what it is. Me and Tori talked about it later. It was fine. It was fun. Um, it's okay.
Just saying, I'm gonna say you were a two-time All-Star, even though you're
There you
sad.
go.
Even
One-time All-Star, should have been a two-time All-Star. My guest, Paul Byrd. I like it.
yes, definitely. Since you transitioned into, I mean, you were such a veteran, innings eater type of guy.
Yeah.
Always went out there. Was there a time where did load management as other sports use it ever come into play? Did you pitch injured? Did you what do you think this era of pitching and bullpen being the biggest part, do you think that's been good for the game? Do you appreciate that you were in your era, or what was your
Oh, I do appreciate that I was in my era because I don't know that I would get drafted today. I don't mean that as a put down on myself. I just didn't throw very hard, throw hard enough. Greg Maddox said the same thing. I have no problem saying that. So I'm glad I pitched in my era. It is what it is. People love velocity. They love home runs. I don't want to pay $100, $200, bring my family to the game and see a ground ball festival. Nobody wants to see that. They want to see home runs. That being said, the game's a little boring to me if it's like softball and everybody on the team is trying to hit a home run every pitch and there's no strategy or moving the guy over or bunting. So I do miss some of that. Um, is it coming back? I don't know. I hope so. A little bit. Doesn't have to come back all the time. But I love a guy's appreciated like Adam Dunn, who could hit the ball at a ballpark, but he only hit 240 and hit a bunch of home runs. And now they're like, ooh, analytically, that guy helped our team more than we knew 30 years ago. So I love the fact that those guys are getting appreciated. I do wish that guys that could pitch got appreciated a little bit more, got chances a little bit sooner, because velocity isn't everything. And I love to watch a master at his craft who doesn't have to throw 98 and is just trying to throw a high fastball every time. I love seeing that happen. I mentioned Kyle Wright earlier. That's when he took off, was when he stopped trying to throw everybody high fastballs and sliders and went back to his curveball and his sinker that was so incredible at Vanderbilt. And then he mixed in the high fastball and slider after he got the other two working. and you saw a symphony. You saw a guy that could get anybody out because he had the heat, he had the sinker, he had the cut, he had all of it. And when you saw that, that for me was beautiful, and I missed some of that.
I miss it too, but and you mentioned analytics, so I'm assuming if you had analytics, would you have used it at all, or would you have not? Like,
Yeah,
what's
no,
the
absolutely. And I used analytics. It just wasn't as complete as it is now. Like it never said on my scouting report, if you throw a fastball down and away to this hitter when the count is 2-2, here's your chances if you execute your spot. It didn't say that. So it's more complete now. I would have loved to have used different machines that told me the depth and the spin, like TrackMan on my curve or slider or changeup, how to make it a better pitch. I would have loved that. So I'm not, as Dusty Baker said so eloquently, I'm not old school and I'm not new school. I'm right school. And I want to combine both schools. And, Theo Epstein was my GM when I was with the Red Sox. And if you read his statements when he walked around, he said, we've done a great disservice to the game. It's become more boring. Everybody's trying to throw as hard as they can. Everybody's trying to hit the ball as far as they can. And so I think the pendulum has swung this way. It's swinging back a little bit to here. I'd love to see it swing in the middle. There is value to velocity. I'm never going to deny that. When you throw harder, the hitter has less time to react. But here we go. If you throw the ball down the middle of the plate and it's 90 miles an hour, and you throw to the outside corner, it has an effective velocity of 84. If you throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball on the inside part of the plate to the same hitter, it gains 6 miles an hour. So now a well executed on the block fastball inside that's 90 has the effective velocity of 96. So I'm big proponent of pitching to both sides of the plate, pitching in. And I think when you do that, you have a good changeup, then you don't have to throw 95.
You said you haven't paid much attention to what the Braves have done, but when I was looking at your stuff and how your career evolved, it kind of reminded me you are the pitcher version of Jared Kelnick, where
Uh,
he got he got traded before he even got a chance with the Mets, and then couldn't really find his footing with the Mariners, and now he's getting a real shot, and he's gonna hopefully find his footing with the Braves. What what is your take on the Jared Kelnick, and is he a hitter version of you like I described, do you think?
yeah, absolutely. So I just think it takes all kinds. So, progress is great. We want to learn more. I want more information. I just don't want to get so caught up in my head that I forget the pitch. Yeah, I do follow some of the Braves moves. Um, it's hard for me because my heart, um,
Yeah.
I'm all or nothing. If I'm
Yeah.
broadcasting, I'm all in. So I'm going to want to know everything about everybody and all the little intricacies. And so that can become addicting for me. So sometimes, like when I'm looking after my wife, I step away and I'll just see the surfacey moves, but I really don't dive into all that. But it is nice to see someone getting a chance. I did see that move that the Braves made. The Braves need a Jock Peterson.
Yeah.
They need somebody in that locker room that's a little rough around the edges, that stirs people up, that, you know, knows
Yeah.
when to do this and get on somebody, and as a veteran has done it before and has the authority to do that. And I think that's what I thought the Braves lacked a little bit. Um, the last couple of years, I thought they played so well during the season, and then the playoffs, they look a little flat versus a wild card team or somebody getting in. And I'm, obviously talking about the Phillies, where you're playing loose, you have nothing to lose, you're loud, you're this and that. I thought when Arcia apologized last year for saying something about Harper, and a stinking media guy reports that, and that's not an interview and it's off the record. I thought that was bogus. I don't like that. I thought that was a cheap shot. But when RC apologized for that, I thought um, I thought that was a sign that it was over. We lost our edge. Just my
I,
opinion.
I don't know that we ever had it But yeah, that didn't help for sure. Um, you were a part of the 2021 magical run, and I know I'm kind
Yeah.
of going all around here, but um,
Yeah.
what did you feel a part of the team as a broadcaster as like when you got that ring and felt like yours, even though you didn't get one as a player? And what was your favorite moment? Was there one moment where you looked back at that and said, okay, this is really something we might actually be able to do this?
Yeah. I'm probably sharing a moment behind the scenes. I don't know if I should, but um, look, I'm not a national reporter. So people like Bird's a homer. That's fine. Of course I am. I'm a broadcaster for the Braves. I'm in the locker room. I know those guys. For me to say I'm not wanting those guys to win would be lying. I'm not on the team. Okay. I've never thrown a pitch for the Atlanta Braves recently. But I love when guys ask questions. How did you hold your cutter? A good cutter changeup. How did you hold your changeup? And I'm some sort of a part of the team without being a coach. The way I can communicate, the game's hard. People are like, "Oh, Bird wants to be everybody's friend." No, I don't. I just realized the game is hard, or you'd be there. The person tweeting at me would be there if it was that easy. It's not easy. I will get on somebody in a second if they don't back up a base, especially pitchers. I'm harder on
Yeah.
pitchers and outfielders. Um, if somebody doesn't hustle, I'm jumping all over Acuna a few years ago, and I love him, he loves me. But hey, Ron will be the first to tell you he didn't get out of the box. So those kinds of things um, come out of me. So all that being said, Brian Snicker, and here's the moment. I don't know. I'm just going to share it. Was we almost got in a fight. The Marlins were hitting Acuna. I have to hold it all together on the broadcast, but I want to start saying things that I shouldn't. And after the game, and I walked in, I said, I know I'm not on the team, but I just want to fight right now. I want to go over there and, whatever. And he just looks at me. He goes, "You're part of this team. Don't you ever say that." It made me feel so good. And I'm not. But that's why everybody loves Brian Snicker. I played for Snit in the minor leagues on rehab assignments, and he's always encouraged me, and he made me feel really good. So um, when Derek Shelton decided to give broadcasters, not all, but as much as they could, rings, because they felt like we were part of this family, this Braves family. I can't describe that feeling. So number one, the best feeling was when Snitker said that. And then when number two, the Braves called me to tell me I was getting a ring, and, I got a little choked up and had to lift the phone away because, I didn't want anybody to know I was a sissy.
You're not, by the way, but especially I don't think Eddie Perez would think you're a sissy with that
Ah, he
2004
was my
bronze
best
run.
friend. I still can't believe that happened. People are like, "Man, why didn't you swing?" I was like, "Take a swing." I was like, number one, I'm out of the game. Number two, he was like my best friend on the Braves. I was like, "Are you really doing this right now?" And then sure enough, we got on the pile and he was holding the pile up so I could breathe. And Schilling was right there next to me, unable to breathe. And the fact that he was out there first off the bench, you know, $1 million, multi million dollar arm, and he risked it all to go out there and mix it up with the guys. It was a crazy night, and I'm just glad I won the game, which everybody forgets. I took Smoltz down.
Oh,
So
yeah. See, that's what really matters. But
that's all that matters. No one talks about that part.
I really had a question when I was thinking about the brawl because I was obviously going to ask you, of course.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Which is worse, being at the bottom of a baseball brawl or the tush push in football? Which one do you think is worse? Which?
I've never gotten the tush push, but I think people can breathe when they get the tush push. The baseball brawl, when you're at the bottom of the pile, it is lights out. You cannot breathe. And that is a suffocation type feeling. Absolutely awful.
Ooh, so the brawl definitely okay.
I'm
Uh,
going with the brawl is worse.
all right.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I got a good mask to give me some space and breathe. I think that's okay. Um, yeah, I'm going
Um,
with the brawl being worse.
I forgot. Congratulations on being the 2023 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame
Thank
inductee
you.
with Ron Washington. Um,
Yes.
and obviously the Braves losing Ron Washington to the Angels. I'm really happy he's gone to the Angels, so I can cheer for him a little bit more than I would if he was in the division. But do you have any good Ron Washington stories you can share that are internet friendly?
My favorite Ron Washington story was in Norfolk, Virginia in 95. And I'm playing for the Norfolk Tides, the Mets AAA team, and he's our bench coach. And it's a big stadium. The ball doesn't go anywhere. So all the hitters are complaining. Ron's hitting his fungos. I'm a pitcher. I'm hitting my fungos, close to Ron. And he tells everybody to shut up. He says, stop complaining. It's not going to make any difference. He's like, I could hit one out of here. And they said, oh, okay. Well, if you can hit one out of here, they said, how many pitches you need? He goes, I only need 5. And I was like, are you sure? Whatever. And they said, well, here you go. Step in here. So they hand him a bat. And on the first one, he like pops it up on the infield. And the second one, I remember he gets jammed and breaks his bat. And so everyone is just horse laughing him. I mean, they laugh him out of the cage. He's trying to find another bat. And I'm like, man, I think he overpromised here. This is a really big park. And, we've just been hitting fungos. So he picks it up and he rifles a couple more fungos to the infielders, this time harder. He goes, okay, I'm ready. They go, you got 3 more pitches. They give him a new bat. He steps in there and boom, hits a high fly ball to left field. Now, at this point, everyone is dead silent. You can hear a pin drop. We are just watching it, watching it, watching it. Lands in the first row, left field. And he turns around like Bruce Lee and gives everybody a look. No one knows what to say. And he flips the bat and he says, you don't know me. You don't know me. Guys were on the ground. They were laughing so hard. It was the best. And he said, stop complaining. The rest of the year, nobody could complain, the hitters at least, about how big the field was, because Ron would just say, I got in the box and went deep. So zip it. It's one of my favorite Ron Washington. There's so many.
Yeah.
The Braves will miss him, but he's left his mark.
Yeah.
If those guys don't know how to take ground balls now and how to play, he's the first one in the dugout. It's not a player. The first one in the dugout is Ron Washington. So if guys were not affected or that didn't rub off on anybody, I would be very surprised, and it would be their own fault.
Is there a underrated moment that won't jump off the page for regular people, but you look back at your career and you said you're very proud of it, but is there an underrated moment that you're just like, yeah, I really did that and I really am happy with how completely was there like an aha moment, like a
Um, I think the aha moment for me was when I was in AAA and I was with the Braves, and the Braves took me off the roster, and the Phillies claimed me to send me to their AAA, and they made a mistake in the paperwork, so I had to go to the big leagues, and I was sent to the big leagues, and a starter walked in, Matt Beach, said his elbow was hurting. They said he gave him an MRI. He needed Tommy John. So they told me, hey, we picked you up to be a reliever, but you're going to start this game, and then you're going to go back to the pen. And the game happened to be against Randy Johnson. And I threw a shutout, won the game. I got a base hit off of him. I really didn't. I swung, and he threw a slider, a hanging slider. I was swinging for his fastball. So I was like way late for his fastball, but on time for a hanging slider. I swung under, but it was a slider, so it broke down and hit my bat, went over shortstop. And I remember rounding first and then coming up to bat again in the 7th, and just the crowd was just giving me a standing ovation. And I'm like, man, I've gone from almost getting released to taken off the roster and claimed, and I just beat Randy Johnson, or it's a seventh. I'm beating him, and I don't know. I think it was a very surreal moment for me where I knew that if you just kept at it, kept fighting, tried to be a good teammate, got your work in, lifted weights, ran hard, did as much as you could, that anything can happen in this game. And I think that's what I love so much is when I hear or see the Cinderella stories that are just so wonderful. I know you're a Panthers fan, but I just watched the documentary Kelsey,
Yeah.
and it's so cool. Like, it's so cool. Like, you know, Jason Kelsey's just Cincinnati sixth rounder, just has to walk on. When I see those things, I'm like, man, I love sports. I do. I love sports. I love the underdog stories. And I think baseball more so than any has their underdogs of the guy drafted in the 40th round, or the guy that was a free agent, or the guy that figured out how to throw a knuckleball, or the guy that, fill in the blank. I think that's what makes it so great.
I completely agree. And please tell me you have that ball or that bat um that off of Randy Johnson. Please tell me you still have
I
that.
wish I did. I wish I did. Greg Jeffries, I don't know if you remember Greg Jeffries. He gave me his bat to swing because he told me I'm not going to like break it because I won't be able to hit anything. And you only foul one off. He started laughing. He goes, "Here, have this, swing it, go have fun." Because Randy Johnson was just near impossible. So I was happy when I just fouled one off. So getting that hit was big. I'm ashamed to say I have nothing from that game. I didn't realize
Oh,
how I didn't realize how I wish I would. I was deer in the headlights.
mistakes were made on that one. Come on.
Yes.
Ay, ay. Yeah. We don't need to talk about the fact that I'm a Panther fan right now. But yes, the underdog story, I feel like, I don't know if you agree, but the Forrest Gump quote, life's like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yes.
I think that's what baseball is. You never know what you're gonna get. Even if you're a first round first pick, supposed to be the next Ronald Acuna Jr., you don't know what's gonna happen. And I think that's the beauty of careers like yours, of careers like anybody's. And I think that is why I love baseball so much, and what the relationships you can create and you can make from them.
That's so much better of an answer than I gave.
No,
I
it's
should be
not.
interviewing you. So let me ask you a question. Since your Carolina Panthers banner in the background's higher than the Braves, is Bryce Young going to be able to bounce back next year?
Yes, I believe so. Because if you look at Bryce Young, um, with the team he had around him, you put Bryce Young on 22 of the 30 teams, I guarantee you they're better with Bryce Young. Outside of maybe Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, but the teams that may need an upgrade in a quarterback, I really
Yeah.
believe that team matters. Team is more than one player, and I think yes, if he gets stuff around him, especially an offensive line, yes, and
Yes.
yes,
I agree with you.
and
He
and
was
I know everybody
pressured
loves
and sacked. What's that?
I know everybody loves CJ Stroud, but he had everything a rookie quarterback could want around him. Just saying.
I love it. You know your stuff. I
Yes.
read an article on him on ESPN a couple days ago where it talked about his passion and his fire, and that all the other quarterbacks, all the other quarterback coaches or the other teams that see him talk about how talented he is, but he wasn't surrounded by a very good line or receivers
Mm-hmm.
or a cast. So I agree with you. You can't do it all. If you're
And
one person, wait a minute, unless you're in baseball and you're on the mound,
yeah.
then you can do it all.
If you're Spencer Strider, yes, you can.
Yes. That's when you take over a game. That's when a poor team becomes really good if that guy on the hill is special.
Is what is your take on? I know you've been preoccupied with a lot of things, But what is your take on Shohei Ohtani and what the Dodgers have done? Do you like it, or do you think deferrals should not be a thing? What's your
I I like it. Look, if you want to spend a lot of money and give someone a lot of money, that's your business. I like it. Um, you know, I don't like somebody just, and I'm talking about owners that just cash checks, and I'm not talking about every owner, but I see a few there. Why would they spend money? It's not that important to them. It's going to cut into their, you know, EBITDA. Why do that? I'll just be average. So I don't like that. I do understand that, if you're a lower team, you can't spend Yankees money or you can't spend Dodgers money. But that's why I love baseball so much, is because, if you look at the people that spend a lot of money, usually it guarantees you playoffs, but it doesn't guarantee you that crown at the end, that ring, because baseball chemistry is so important. And you need a little bit of luck, and you need to be hot at the right time, and you need to be healthy, and you need all those things. So you can't buy a title ever. The Dodgers would say, and this is what Shohei said, attracted him so much, as the Dodgers over the past 10 years have felt like they failed because they don't have 3 or 4 rings to show for it like San Fran did back, in the early teens. So I like that. I like teams that want to win, and I like players that want to win. And that impressed him a lot. So he's going there to win. I hope it happens. Meaning, I hope they lose in the finals to the Braves, but I do hope that, they I'm not wanting Shohei to get hurt, or I'm not wanting
yeah?
them to fail and go, see Dodgers. No, I don't have that attitude at all. I like it when teams want to win, whether it's owners or players.
I like that answer, even though I'm never gonna like the Dodgers.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you.
And you said that my Panthers thing was too. Well, here's my ring right here. Like
There you go. There you
that's
go.
that's better. But
Yeah.
what what is your take on relievers potentially becoming starters? Is that a realistic proposition for like a Jordan Hicks or a Ronaldo Lopez, or being a hybrid like Colin McHugh was for the Braves?
I like that. And, when teams that have employed the opener for certain games, I like that. Traditionally, you use a starter because when you bring a reliever in, you want to uptick and stuff. So you want to get that lead, bring in somebody that's harder to hit, increase your chances of winning. And usually, if a starter throws 100, not talking about Strider, he's an anomaly, but usually that comes with 1 or 2 innings. Like Aroldis Chapman, who throws 102, but then they tried him as a starter and he was 88 miles an hour. Um, so I mean, think of that. Chapman was 88 miles an hour as a starter. So normally when you have a sprint type arm, they end up being a reliever. But yeah, you got to play the hand that's dealt. So if you do that for a game or two, or you do that for a certain couple months because that's what's warranted because one of your starters is down, I'm fine with it. But most of the time you'll see the other happen because, like I said, you just want an uptick in stuff.
So in your opinion, it's not sustainable.
Um, you have to have a lot of relievers. You have to carry a lot of pitchers. I mean, you're going to lose a pitcher right out of the gate. But I do like getting through that first part of the order with a stud arm. I like that. But then you're going to bring in somebody that's a little easier to hit stuff wise, but you get the back part of that lineup for the first go around. So I do see the beauty in it. I'm not opposed to it at all. But I kind of like the other way better. Get that lead and then bring in somebody who's nasty.
What um which environment is tougher to pitch in, the College World Series or the MLB playoffs?
Oh gosh. That's such a good question. I've never been asked that question before. Both are hard. I had trouble breathing when I was in the College World Series as a freshman. I just turned 18 years old and I'm on national TV and I almost couldn't feel my body. Um, that was tough and I did okay, but it was very surreal. I was in another world. I'd never felt that feeling before. I think that's what made that so tough is I'd never felt that feeling. Um, MLB, that's something you've dreamed of as a kid. Pitching in the playoffs, you've seen the playoffs, and now you get the ball and all eyes are on you. And oh yeah, there aren't any other games on, you know? And this is for all the marbles, playoffs. So fun. Same thing, gotta breathe, gotta breathe. And I'm gonna call it a tie. That's such a bad answer, but it's true. I couldn't breathe in either one. I couldn't feel my body for a pitch or two on either one. And then I had to just really, really settle down.
Is it weird to go back to a team that you have pitched for before? You did it twice. The Cleveland Indians drafted you, and then you came back in 2007 in the big CC Sabathia Foul Cremona, and you
Yeah,
held your own in that rotation, by the way. Um, Absolutely incredible. But is it
thank
weird?
you. Yeah, it is. You're like, man, why do these guys want me back? They've seen me before, then why'd they get rid of me or whatever? And one of my friends who recently passed with ALS, Jim Poole, I remember talking to him on the phone about it. And I said, man, I'm shocked the Braves want me back because it wasn't a few years ago that they just let me go. And he said, no, they had part in your development, and now they want to cash in on that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I was like, ooh, I like that answer. So shout out to the late great Jim Poole. I'm gonna go with that one. They have had a part in developing you and want to cash in on it. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, you've given so many interesting perspectives on so many areas of baseball. Was there a transitional period when you went straight to broadcasting, and why broadcasting? And it was it like being a rookie player versus rookie broadcaster? Were there similarities, differences?
I think the hardest thing for me broadcasting wise is I had no training. Like as a player, you go through the minor leagues, you play college, you've been throwing your slider for years. Not so. It was like, I went down because they needed someone for a weekend series against the Red Sox. And Megan Swingle, who was one of our PR people when I played, said, you got to call Paul Byrd. He was a great interview. You got to call Paul Byrd. So I was like, okay. So they called me and said, hey, you want to come down and do a 3-game series against Boston and tell us what it's like to pitch in Fenway? What's it like with the Green Monster? So I went down and I did, not knowing it was a tryout. I thought I was just helping them out for 3 games. And so Mike Iacchino, our producer, called me back and said, the next year, he said, hey, would you consider doing this full time? And I was coaching my kids. I was like, I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. And so I kind of stuck my toe in. I just did a certain number of games. And, my kid was like, hey, Dad, I'm done with you. Go coach someone else. So I was like, okay, I'll just go broadcast. So it worked in my schedule then. And I did just enough to where I could be with my family. And, but I fell in love with it.
Well, I hope you're back because we need an
Thank you.
updated picture. It's been since 2019, so and I like the new salt and pepper kind of look you got going too,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah. I don't, I leave that just for men on the box and the shelf in the grocery store. And this is au naturel right here, Cassidy. So
Very,
yeah.
very, very nice. Um, I just it's incredible to kind of pull back the curtain on everything, and the fact that you were willing to really pull back Absolutely, everything was absolutely incredible. I don't think I have anything else. Do you have any?
No, I'm good. I miss interacting with people like you, and I hope to get to see you down at the stadium. I hope it works out for me, and we'll see what comes out in the wash. But yeah.
And thanks for jumping around with me. I know it was a lot of jumping around, but you have so much, and I wanted to cover it all,
Oh,
and I hope I did.
hey, there's been a lot. You know what I call those? And this is a good thing. Sometimes I'll finish stuff and I was like, man, that was the ADD broadcast. I was all over the place. And people go, those are the best ones. So, yes, I love the interviews where you jump all over and we cover a lot of stuff. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you. Keep up the great
Honored to
work.
have you. Thank you so much. I love you, Paul, and I will keep in contact with you and hope to see you at a ballpark very, very, very soon.
Hey, I love you too. Go Braves. Go Panthers.
As always, go Braves, go Panthers.
See ya.
See ya.